Hello friends, I am glad to see you again. Today I'm going to talk about an HOA that demands that my neighbor's cousin move into my house. So I was still half dreaming about blueberry waffles when the doorbell erupted at 7:03 a.m. sharp. 3 blasts, each one angrier than the last. My dog Rocket bolted to the foyer, nails skittering across hardwood like marbles on glass. I shuffled after him in pajama pants and a college hoodie, expecting a package that needed a signature. Instead, I opened the door to find Marla, the freshly elected president of the Whispering Sycamores Homeowners Association, standing on my porch, clipboard at high noon, eyes shining with evangelical certainty. Behind her loomed Dexter, my across-the-street neighbor whose hobby was mowing everybody's lawn edges with military precision. And behind Dexter, almost hiding behind a potted fern, hovered a lanky 20-something I'd never seen, clutching 2 bulging garbage bags and a pillowcase printed with cartoon pickles. Dexter shot me an apologetic nod, while Marla charged forward like I'd summoned her. "Good morning, Lincoln," she chirped. "I'm so glad you're up. We have wonderful news." Before caffeine could rescue my brain, she flipped her clipboard around. A typed notice peeked out, stamped HOA Directive 14B in crimson. "As you may recall," Marla continued, "our revised community charter states unused living space may be allocated for the common good. It has come to our attention," she tapped the clipboard, "that you possess a spare bedroom on your second floor that has remained vacant for over 6 months. Therefore, per 14B, the board has voted to assign temporary occupancy of that room to Dexter's cousin, Cricket." The lanky guy raised a hand like a shamed student. "Hey!" My brain performed a violent reboot. "Pardon?" Marla mistook shock for compliance. "Cricket's apartment flooded because of negligent pipes. Very tragic. The HOA's responsibility is neighbors helping neighbors, so you'll be the charitable host until he gets back on his feet. Keys under the mat by this afternoon will be sufficient." She tried to hand me a sealed envelope. On the front, "Welcome packet, move-in date today." I didn't accept it. "You want a complete stranger to crash in my house because I happen to have a guest room?" Marla's smile froze into that brittle pageant grin. "It's not a request, Lincoln. It's a directive, unanimously approved last night." Dexter cleared his throat. "Technically, I abstained, conflict of interest, but the rest were for it." Cricket shifted foot to foot, pillowcase swaying. I rubbed my temples. "Did anyone consider asking me?" Marla's brows knit. "We sent a notice." "When?" "Email at 2:13 a.m. She said it like prime time. "Failing objection within 4 hours constitutes agreement. Page 8 of the bylaws you received at closing." I exhaled the slow, controlled way my therapist taught me back when I quit corporate law. 1, 2, 3. Rocket growled, an echo of my pulse. "Let me be extremely clear," I said, voice even. "Nobody is moving into my house except people I invite. That spare room is mine, not communal property. And certainly not a halfway house." Marla's grin collapsed altogether. "The board can levy fines up to $1,000 a day for non-cooperation." She seized a pen, scribbled on the clipboard, and jabbed her signature. "Effective immediately. Dexter, help Cricket bring his bags inside." Dexter opened his mouth, but I spoke first. "Step 1 inch past that threshold and you're trespassing. Rocket here is a shepherd mix with protective instincts." Rocket wagged, clueless, but his size sold the bluff. For a long 10 count, nobody moved. Then Marla's nostrils flared. "I'll make sure legal follows up. Expect a lien on your house by the end of the month." She spun on her sensible heels and marched off the porch, dragging Dexter and Cricket in her wake. I shut the door, heartbeat doing parkour. Rocket glanced up, tail thumping like he, too, couldn't believe the HOA just tried to Airbnb my life. My subdivision, Whispering Sycamores, looks like a catalog spread. Fresh mulch, mandatory white mailboxes, synchronized trash cans. I'd bought my colonial style 2 years ago after burning out as a junior partner at a Chicago firm. My exit package funded the down payment. Freelance contract work covered the mortgage. Peace, privacy, and a home office. Bliss. Until last fall, the HOA was mostly lawn heights and seasonal flags. Then the previous board resigned over a mismanaged pool repair. And Marla, who'd moved here only a year earlier, organized a blitz campaign promising strong community synergy. She won presidency unopposed because nobody else wanted the headache. In 4 short months, she'd passed rules about garage door colors, bird feeder counts, and now, forced roommate assignments? I poured coffee, paced the kitchen, and pulled out the bylaws binder. Yellowed pages, last updated 2008. There it was. Amendment 14B, slipped in via addendum dated March of this year. Voluntary occupancy support turned to mandatory occupancy redistribution in a single crossed-out word. A footnote referenced an emergency vote with bare minimum quorum. 6 board members, one of whom was Marla's college friend who didn't even live here but claimed her parents' empty lot as residency. I started scanning for anything that invalidated forced entry. Thanks to my law background, reading fine print was muscle memory. Section 5.3. All amendments must comply with state property statutes. Occupancy cannot infringe upon owners' Fourth Amendment rights or state trespass laws. That footnote alone nuked 14b. Marla was counting on residents being too intimidated or too busy to fight back. She clearly hadn't researched the dude in the blue Colonial on Sycamore Drive. Step 1. Gather allies. I texted my next-door neighbor, Lila, retired nurse, queen of homemade cinnamon rolls. Me. Did you know the HOA can apparently assign strangers to spare bedrooms now? Her reply came in record time. Lila, what? Come over, I'll make coffee. 10 minutes later, I sat on Lila's screened porch inhaling cinnamon steam while Rocket romped with her poodle. She had the same notice, untouched in her inbox. Her spare room housed her grandkids on weekends. She was livid. We looped in Julio, the ER resident on the corner, and Kim and Preston, the newlyweds who'd converted their extra room into a pottery studio. By noon, my group text, dubbed Sycamore Sanity, had 12 members. All had received the 2 a.m. email. Most hadn't read it yet. Reactions ranged from shock to over my dead body. I drafted a cease and desist template citing state landlord-tenant law, the HOA's own Section 5.3, and case precedents. I attached it to the chat with instructions: print, sign, hand-deliver to the HOA mailbox by 5 p.m. That evening, I walked down Sycamore Drive with Rocket and slid my envelope, thick with 11 co-signatures, into the HOA's drop slot. As I turned, I spotted Marla's SUV idling by the curb, her window rolled down. "You're making this harder than it needs to be," she called. "Protecting my home isn't hard, it's instinct." I kept walking. She accelerated away, tires spitting gravel. The next morning, a bright yellow citation sat taped to my front door. Fine notice: $1,000 for failure to comply with Directive 14B. It demanded payment within 7 days, or the amount would double and attach to property tax records. I peeled it off, took photos, and faxed it to my attorney friend Dara back in Illinois. She called me before the fax paper cooled. "Lynn, they're bluffing. HOA can't override statutory property law. File a declaratory judgment in county court and seek an injunction against enforcement. I'll draft the motion pro bono if you want." I wanted. By lunchtime, the motion was in my inbox. I drove it to the clerk's office 30 minutes away, paid the filing fee, and obtained a hearing date, 2 weeks out. The clerk stapled the summons for Marla and the board. I hired a process server, retired deputy named Rufus, who grinned ear to ear when he read the reason. "Bet this one makes the local paper," he said. I hoped it would. Day 3 brought escalation. While I was on a Zoom call with a software client, Rocket barked relentlessly downstairs. I found him at the back door, hackles up. Through the glass, I saw Cricket. Not on my porch this time, but in my backyard trying the slider handle. I flung the door open. "Can I help you?" Cricket jumped. Hey man, Marla said you might have changed your mind. She gave me a copy of the key, but it doesn't work on the back door." I scanned his hands, indeed holding a shiny brass key still in the hardware store tag. "Cricket, that key is stolen property. Hand it over." He wilted. "She said the HOA owns the locks. I really don't want to break rules." "You already are. Step off my property before I call the sheriff for criminal trespass." His Adam's apple bobbed. "Look, I can crash somewhere else tonight, but Marla's serious about those fines. She says if I don't move in here, I'll be penalized too." I softened a fraction. "I get you're caught in the middle, but this directive isn't legal. I'm challenging it in court. Your best move is to stay elsewhere until a judge rules." He nodded, embarrassed, then in a whisper, "I can couch surf at my buddy's. Sorry." He handed me the key and hurried away. I photographed him leaving, documenting everything. 30 minutes later, I drove to the locksmith and had every exterior lock rekeyed. Receipts went into my growing evidence folder. That night, Sycamore Sanity met in Lila's garage. We arranged folding chairs like a covert town hall. Dara joined on speakerphone to explain lawsuit details. 22 neighbors attended, a third of the subdivision. Each shared grievances: Marla's fines for excessive Halloween pumpkins, for handing out popsicles at the pool without a permit, for parking pickup trucks in driveways instead of garages. Momentum swelled. Lila proposed a special meeting to recall the entire board, permissible with signatures from 25% of homeowners. We were already close. Julio suggested we inspect the HOA's financials, fees outpacing last year by 40%. Yet landscaping bills remained identical. Where was the surplus? Nobody but the treasurer, a silent retiree named Abner, knew. We divvied tasks, gather signatures, audit expenditures, canvass absent neighbors, and create a private Facebook group for updates. I volunteered to draft the recall petition. By 11 p.m., my adrenaline sizzled. Fighting corporate giants had once drained me. Fighting a suburban despot invigorated me. The next morning, a certified letter arrived from the HOA's legal counsel, Garrison Compliance Group, younger boutique firm out of Pinedale. It threatened to countersue for defamation and intentional infliction of emotional distress against Marla. I Googled the firm. 2 associates and a receptionist. Their website used stock photos of gavels. Cute. I forwarded the letter to Dara. She laughed so hard she choked on coffee. "Send them our complaint," she said. "Defamation requires false statements. Truth is an absolute defense." Meanwhile, Julio uncovered bank statements through a public records request. Marla had convinced the treasurer to authorize a $15,000 community improvement study paid to Meridian Synergy Consulting, LLC. The LLC's registered agent, Marla herself, classic self-dealing. We printed copies for the recall packet. Sunday afternoon, I mowed my lawn, a chore I found zen. As I trimmed edges, Dexter walked over, hands stuffed in cargo shorts. "Lincoln, can we talk?" I killed the engine. "Sure." He looked sheepish. "I'm sorry about all this. Cricket's my cousin, but I told Marla forcing neighbors wasn't right. She said the board had to appear decisive, that the bylaws gave us authority. She misread them, or didn't read at all. I see that now. She's persuasive. My wife thinks she's running the board like a startup she can flip for profit." He sighed. "I signed the recall petition. Just wanted you to know." "Appreciate it, Dex." He hesitated. "If you need witness statements about her coaching us, I'll testify." I stuck out my hand. "Deal." We shook. For the first time since moving here, Sycamore Drive felt neighborly. That evening, I updated the Facebook group. 43 signatures. Well above the threshold. Lila scheduled the special meeting at the community clubhouse next Thursday. We mailed certified notices to every homeowner as required. Marla, sensing mutiny, posted a public memo on the HOA website accusing certain residents of plotting to dismantle communal harmony. She claimed my lawsuit endangered neighborhood property values, and that recall participants could face assessment hikes. Fear tactics. In response, I uploaded a summary of my complaint and the financial discrepancies. Screenshots spread fast. Turns out nothing unites neighbors like discovering their dues funded someone's side hustle. 2 days before the clubhouse meeting, Cricket showed up again. But this time he parked at the curb and knocked politely. He held a manila envelope. "Marla sent this to my temp address," he said. "Thought you'd want it. Inside, a fresh fine, $2,000 now, plus a new directive. My property would be subject to mandatory inspection by HOA security to ensure safe living conditions for future tenants. Inspection scheduled for Friday, with or without homeowner present." I snorted. HOA security was Marla's nephew Mason, a college freshman with a reflective vest. I drafted another letter citing state law requiring 24-hour written notice and homeowner consent. I declined entry. Thursday arrived, recall day. The clubhouse, usually used for birthday parties and water aerobics sign-ups, overflowed. Marla perched at the front table, gavel in hand, flanked by the 6 board members. I sat in the second row beside Lila, petition in a binder. The treasurer, Abner, looked pale, maybe because every chair pocket held a packet detailing the Meridian Synergy payout. At 7:01 p.m., Lila rose. "Madam President, I submit a motion to remove the current board for breach of fiduciary duty under Article 7 of the bylaws." Murmurs swept the room. Marla banged the gavel. "Out of order." Julio stood. "Point of order. Membership possesses the right to motion per Section 7.2, superseding chair recognition." Residents applauded. Marla's jaw clenched. I walked to the microphone and distributed signed petitions. "We have 57 homeowners supporting this motion, exceeding the required threshold. We request an immediate vote." Marla tried procedural gymnastics, but the bylaws were clear. After 10 minutes of chaos, the vote proceeded. Paper ballots, 1 per household. Volunteers counted. Tallied. Result: 61 for removal, 12 against, 4 abstentions. The board, Marla included, was ousted on the spot. A cheer rose loud enough to rattle light fixtures. Marla stormed out, shoulder-checking my binder as she passed. Dexter took the mic next. "I nominate Lincoln as interim president until regular elections." I shot up. "Absolutely not. Law school taught me to avoid power vacuums. I nominate Lila." Lila blushed, but half the room seconded. The vote passed. She accepted. Cinnamon Roll Queen turned HOA savior. Her first act, suspend all fines pending legal review. Her second, authorize an independent audit from a reputable accounting firm, not some synergy shell. We adjourned at 9:42 p.m., residents buzzing with relief. I expected fallout. It came swiftly. Friday morning, a moving truck idled outside Marla's house. Word spread she'd resigned, listing her property for sale, as is. Mason, the so-called security guard, loaded boxes. No one helped. That afternoon, my mailbox held a thin envelope. Garrison Compliance Group withdrawing representation due to irreconcilable differences. Without a board to pay them, they bailed. Dara filed a motion to dismiss my lawsuit as moot. The new board agreed to rescind 14B, expunge all related fines, and adopt a rule requiring a 2/3 homeowner vote for any bylaw changes affecting occupancy. The judge signed off. We celebrated with lemonade on Lila's porch. Rocket snagged a cinnamon roll off the tray. Nobody minded. One puzzle piece remained, the $15,000 Community Improvement Fund. The audit uncovered a second payment scheduled, another $15,000, set to auto-transfer next quarter. Lila froze it. Then we learned Meridian Synergy Consulting LLC had filed for dissolution the same day Marla's house hit the market. Convenient. Dara suggested small claim suits for reimbursement. The board filed one collectively. Whether Marla settled or fought, the paper trail would follow her like a bad credit score. As for Cricket, he found an apartment downtown. He texted me thanks for not feeding me to the wolves. I replied with a handshake emoji. A month later, Whispering Sycamores felt reborn. Garages sported whimsical paint, a neighbor hosted a driveway taco night, fines plummeted, morale soared. We even amended bylaws to cap presidential terms and require CPA oversight on finances. I reclaimed my guest room as a yoga studio, painted the walls forest green, and installed a wall-mounted fold-out desk. When I rolled out my mat for the first sun salutation, Rocket flopped beside me, panting approval. Some nights I muse how easily a quiet street became a battleground over a spare bedroom. Power, like water, seeks cracks to flood. But resolve, and a few good neighbors, can patch any leak. I never did leave my keys under the mat. Instead, I framed them in a shadow box above the desk, beside the citation for failure to comply, a reminder that home, unlike HOA bylaws, isn't negotiable. 2 weeks after the recall, peace floated over Whispering Sycamores like lilacs on a May breeze, right up until my mailbox coughed up an official-looking envelope from the county clerk. Inside was a Notice of Mechanics Lien, filed by who else? Meridian Synergy Consulting LLC. The amount? $8,750 for community program analysis performed at 415 Sycamore Drive. My address. The description claimed I'd authorized a feasibility study for converting my spare bedroom into subsidized housing benefiting the subdivision. Payment overdue, lien attached to title. I laughed out loud, cursed under my breath, then marched straight to Lila's porch. She poured sweet tea while I explained. Her eyebrow ticked upward the way head nurses do before delivering a shot. Marla filed that before the board got booted, she said, tapping the paper. Classic parting gift. Dara confirmed by phone. Filing a fraudulent lien in our state is a Class B misdemeanor and civilly actionable. We drafted a demand letter giving Meridian Synergy, or whatever shells of it remained, 7 days to release the lien voluntarily or face a quiet title lawsuit plus damages. Meanwhile, Lila authorized the board's new treasurer, Preston, to notify every title company in 3 counties that Meridian Synergy was under investigation for deceptive practices. Real estate circles run gossip faster than fiber optics. Within 48 hours, Marla's pending home sale stalled. Her buyer's agent emailed the board asking whether criminal charges were forthcoming. The schadenfreude tasted like cinnamon sugar. Marla did not go quietly. She pivoted to guerrilla tactics. Anonymous posts on neighborhood Facebook accusing certain ringleaders of financial impropriety, claiming Rocket was an unlicensed, aggressive animal, even hinting my yoga studio violated zoning. Unfortunately for her, small towns love receipts. Lila replied with the licensing number I dutifully renewed last January. plus the zoning ordinance confirming home offices were permissible. The thread dissolved into gifs of popcorn. 3 mornings later, animal control arrived anyway. Someone had reported a dangerous loose dog. Rocket greeted the officer with a tennis ball and belly-up enthusiasm. The officer, a genial guy named Wade, chuckled and asked to see my fence. He left with treats in his pocket and a promise that any further frivolous calls would trigger a harassment report. I emailed Wade's card to Dara for the folder. The board's forensic accountant, a no-nonsense woman named Dr. Halliday, combed through 5 years of HOA bank statements. She uncovered an irregular pattern. Every quarter, a vendor called Shoreside Maintenance billed for retention pond algae treatment, $2,400 a pop, yet no one recalled seeing truck or technician. Shoreside traced back to a P.O. box on the coast. Its LLC manager? Marla's college roommate, total siphon since the pool repair fiasco, nearly $30,000. Halliday's report dropped like a meteor at the next board meeting. Homeowners gasped, murmured, then unanimously voted to forward findings to the county district attorney. Lila signed the referral letter with a flourish. "Community synergy indeed," she muttered. The DA's office launched an investigation, subpoenaing Meridian Synergy and Shoreside records. Word leaked to the local paper. A young reporter named Cassie rang my doorbell asking for comment. I stuck to facts. The former board's practices are under scrutiny. The current board is cooperating fully. Cassie nodded, scribbling. Rocket tried to eat her pen. Around this time, Cricket swung by during a Saturday garage cleanup. He handed me a 6-pack of root beer and an envelope. "My landlord settled," he said. "Pipes are fixed. I've got a new place across town." Inside the envelope was a handwritten note and $40, half the locksmith fee I'd paid the night he nearly trespassed. "Couldn't cover it all," he shrugged, "but I wanted to square things." I slapped his shoulder. "We're good. Just promise your next lease forbids surprise roommate clauses." He grinned. First thing I checked. We toasted with root beer while Rocket chased a frisbee. July heat rolled in, and with it came the annual community yard sale. Under old management, Marla had charged a $25 participation permit. Lila abolished it, instead budgeting funds for banners and a food truck voucher for each household. Sycamore Drive transformed into a cheerful bazaar, kids flogging lemonade, Preston's Pottery Studio offering seconds at discount, even Dexter showcasing refurbished lawnmower blades. Near noon, a silver sedan creeped down the street, Marla at the wheel, windows up despite the heat. She parked outside her unsold house, popped the trunk, and began pulling geranium planters from the porch. HOA installed decorations funded by dues. Lila noticed first and whispered to me. I walked over, phone recording. "Afternoon, Marla." She froze, planter in hand. "These are personal effects. Receipts show they belong to the HOA. Removing common property is theft." She huffed, loaded the planter anyway, and reached for the decorative mailbox topper. Also HOA property. I dialed the non-emergency sheriff line. Deputy Caldwell arrived within 10 minutes, friendly but firm. After reviewing photos, receipts, and my footage, he asked Marla to return the items. She refused. He sighed, secured them in his cruiser as evidence, and issued Marla a citation for misdemeanor theft and criminal trespass. Her mailbox key no longer worked, making her presence unauthorized. The yard sale crowd watched, stunned. Marla's face mottled crimson. As Caldwell escorted her to the passenger seat for paperwork, she locked eyes with me. This isn't over. Maybe not, but the scoreboard looked good. 2 days later, Meridian Synergy's attorney, some overworked solo practitioner, faxed Dara a signed release of lien. We recorded it with the county recorder, clearing my title. Dara then filed a civil claim for slander of title-seeking triple damages. A process server handed it to Marla as she exited her arraignment. Timing is everything. Meanwhile, the new board erected a bulletin board by the pool listing treasury balances, upcoming projects, and contact info. Transparency felt radical after the secrecy. A retired contractor volunteered to actually treat the retention pond for algae. Turns out it needed it. Total cost: $212 in supplies and 3 pizzas for volunteers. August delivered a twist none of us expected. A certified letter to every homeowner from Marla's lawyer threatening a class action against the HOA for wrongful recall. She claimed procedural irregularities, emotional distress, and defamation. The remedy demanded: reinstate her as president and award $250,000 for reputational harm. Cue collective eye roll. Dr. Halliday combed the meeting minutes, signature logs, and bylaws, then gave Dara the perfect rebuttal. Dara drafted a motion to dismiss Marla's bogus class action, but the board opted for malicious compliance instead. The bylaws say any owner may inspect HOA records at 15 cents a page, prepaid. Marla demanded all documents. Kim, our secretary, mailed her a cheery letter, 6,742 pages, $1,011.30 due up front. Rates Marla herself had set. 2 days after the certified letter landed, her lawyer dropped the suit. In early September, the district attorney convened a grand jury on HOA fund misuse. Abner, our shaky treasurer, got immunity for testifying. Sunday's paper splashed a flowchart of Marla's shell companies under the headline, "From Neighborhood Crusader to Criminal Suspect." Phones on Sycamore Drive pinged like popcorn. Marla hustled to unload her house, pitching it to an out-of-state investor who planned short-term rentals. Our covenants ban leases under 6 months, so she begged for a variance. The clubhouse overflowed. Dexter spoke about parking, Lila read covenants, and I showed a slide deck on property value decline. Vote, unanimous no. The buyer vanished, the listing expired. Life steadied. I wrapped a big freelance project and installed bookshelves in the guest room turned studio. Rocket thumping approval with every plank. On the wall, I framed the keys under the mat citation, the court's dismissal order, and Cassie's article praising civic courage. Mid-October, squad cars rolled up before dawn. The grand jury had indicted Marla, felony theft and 2 misdemeanors for falsified records. I watched her descend her porch in cuffs, jaw locked, cameras clicking. That evening, the new board met to ask if HOA insurance had to fund her defense. The policy excludes fraud, so absolutely not. Halloween, once controlled by Marla's color-coded luminaries, exploded in glorious chaos. Inflatable dragons battled ghosts, Dexter's riding mower spewed fog, and rockets strutted in bat wings while I handed out full-size bars. At 9, fireworks lit the retention pond. For the first time since I bought my Colonial, I felt woven into something bigger. November brought formal elections. Lila, Julio, Preston, and Kim ran unopposed. I stayed unofficial compliance nerd and drafted a 1-page guide. Power is rented, not owned. After the results, a potluck morphed into karaoke. Dexter mangled classic rock while Rocket howled the chorus. December's first storm dusted the Oaks, and a bank-owned sign sprouted on Marla's vacated lawn. Legal bills had eaten her equity. Dara persuaded the bank to record a rider requiring any buyer to live in the house a year before renting. Foreclosure drama solved. Holidays glowed. Preston launched our inaugural Festival of Porch Trees. Mine wore miniature law books and a gavel topper, winning Best Theme. The prize, a yard waste voucher, went to Dexter in thanks for summer mowing. On New Year's Eve, I watched confetti cannons shimmer over tidy roofs and whispered to the framed keys, "Still mine." January thaw delivered a curveball. The county reclassified my home as mixed-use habitation. Hiking taxes 17%. Someone, guess who, had filed paperwork claiming my spare room was subsidized housing. Dara and I dug up the form signed last spring by President Marla. It even listed Dexter's, Julio's, and Kim's addresses. We filed manifest clerical error petitions. Reggie at the assessor's office reversed every reassessment in 3 days and hinted 2 other neighborhoods had been targeted. The DA opened a second file. February snow couldn't delay justice. At Marla's restitution hearing, the judge confirmed her first $15,000 check cleared and warned that any slip would mean jail. Cassie caught me outside for comment. I simply said, "No one's above accountability," while molasses gingerbread aroma from Lila's victory batch floated down the street. March welcomed new neighbors, Gabriel, Tasha, their twins, and Otis, the ancient beagle. After the bank sold Marla's place for cash, we greeted them with honey, a handmade mug, and bylaws highlighted in yellow, "Your space is yours." April sunshine led Lila to propose a community tool library in the unused pool house. Volunteers painted a wrench mural, Preston built shelves, and we stocked it with the restitution money. The password? No more roommates. In May, Marla's probation officer asked whether she could finish her service hours landscaping our subdivision. Opinions split, but I suggested supervised weed pulling. Closer to home, less and sharper. Conditions, Saturdays only, Dexter supervising, no clubhouse keys. She arrived in a county vest, quietly collecting litter while kids chased tadpoles. Otis sniffed her ankle, unimpressed. Poetic enough, June marked 1 year since her doorbell ambush. We threw a block party talent show. Cricket sang. Preston spun clay. Then Marla surprised everyone with an essay titled Redemption in Neighborly Soil. She owned her greed and apologized for the spare room decree, forged taxes, and synergy slush fund. Tasha began a slow clap. Others followed. No cheers, just polite closure. She ate a lemon bar alone and slipped away before karaoke. Summer drifted. Crime stayed nil, property values inched up, and a regional magazine hailed us as a DIY governance success story. My quote, "Start by guarding your doorstep." In September, Marla's new LLC sued 5 HOAs, ours included, claiming recalls violated her civil rights. Dara answered with a Rule 11 motion. The judge dismissed the case with prejudice and ordered sanctions, labeling the complaint speculative fiction masquerading as pleadings. I framed that order too, captioned, "Words are wands, use responsibly." October brought calm elections and crisp breezes. During afternoon yoga, I opened the studio windows. Rockets sprawled under the framed relics. The doorbell chimed once, Gabriel's twins inviting us to movie night on the green. We grabbed a blanket and popcorn. Under string lights, families lounged while Wall E glowed on a blow-up screen. No clipboards, no fines, no forced keys under mats. Just neighbors sharing kettle corn-scented air. I stroked Rocket's fur and remembered the morning a stranger almost moved into my spare room. We gained more than a legal win. We took back agency, stitched trust, and even offered redemption to the woman who upended us. Not bad for a street that once argued over bird feeders. Cassie later asked for a final quote. I gave her 6 words. "It's just my house, our neighborhood." Friends, thank you. See you soon.